Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here at OpenConCam. And for those that haven't been here, OpenCon and OpenConCam are very special events. There are these kinds of events where you reflect. Yeah, sorry. There are these kinds of events where you can reflect and share with the other participants. Some of the things that you maybe don't kind of focus every day, maybe the kind of higher level things that matter. And this talk will reflect this. It won't be my kind of usual talk when I speed through slides with data, with figures, with code equations, and it will be a different kind of talk. And so I'll be talking about a journey, a quite long journey that started many years ago and is still ongoing. I will be talking about my journey, but I know that it applies to many. And when you are on a long journey, you meet people. And some of the people you meet, they help you and they support you throughout this journey. So before starting, I'd like to thank the people that have organized this conference and the previous ones. I would also like to thank the people that share my values of open research and open science, and I'll talk about these a little bit more. And of course, I want to thank the ever-inspiring Karina Logan, who is the person that initiated this Bullied Inspirational science. So yes, it is personal. I do care about my work as a researcher, very much so, and I'm sure that you all also do about your professional activities. I'm a scientist, and I do computational research, and more specifically spatial proteomics. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. And at the end of my degree, and it was in biology, I was unable to imagine I could do anything else than doing research. Of course, I never intended to do that kind of research I'm doing now. I didn't even know it existed. And of course, I didn't intend to be here. What I was interested about is to understand the world around me. What fascinated me was the scientific method that allows us to understand what's around us. We observe, we define hypotheses, we test them, and then depending on the results, we accept or reject all of them. And we move on. And that's how we can understand what's around us. And so what are some of these features that make this scientific investigation such a universally powerful method? Well, that is science that I'm passionate about, and that's what I want to share. Well, first of all, there is trust. I need to trust you to be able to stand on your shoulders. And you need to trust me if you want to be able to stand on mine. There is reproducibility. I can't just stand on one person's shoulders. We need to have many shoulders on which to stand. And then, of course, there is openness. I need to know what I'm standing on. And more importantly, I want everybody to know what they stand on. So I didn't realize this as a young PhD student when I started this journey. And nobody ever told me that these concepts were among the very foundation of science. That is what we need to be able to stand on the shoulders of others. And then maybe one day others will be able to stand on our shoulders. And that is what I'm passionate about. So yes, it's personal, but I think many of us are passionate about these same things. So what is this talk about? As I said, this talk about is the science that we are all passionate about. It's a science that we can trust and that we want to do until the very end. But that's not always the science that is practiced. So here's a quote from an early career researcher that has signed the Bullied into Science. They say, I have been constantly harassed by superiors to modify data in order to provide better agreement with known experimental values. The paper looked better for publishing in prestigious journals. I'm losing my voice. Of course, we all have constraints. Our lives. We don't live and work in ivory towers, even here in Cambridge. Sometimes things are hard, and are certainly harder for some. And we have to live and work with these constraints. But there are some compromises that we won't make. We want to pursue our values and these principles that guide us on this journey. And so the Bullied into Bad Science campaign is an initiative by early career researchers and for early career researchers. For those that want a more fair, a fairer, a more open and more ethical research environment and publication environment. Because science and academia are not necessarily aligned. Because a good researcher is not necessarily a successful researcher. With this campaign, we want to lead individuals and institutions to adopt more open practices to improve research rigor. What we want is that good researcher and successful researcher realign. So now the Bullied into Bad Science campaign didn't come out of the blue. It's the result of many efforts that didn't lead to satisfactory results. And I think it's fair to say that these efforts led to quite a bit of frustration. I would like to give you a little bit of background about the campaign. As far as I'm concerned, the origin of this campaign probably started in mid-2016, when some academics here at the university heard about these negotiations between GISC and Elsevier. They were negotiating the next mega big deal. And we thought that as academics from Cambridge, maybe if we publicly express our support to GISC, we could positively influence these negotiations. We could give GISC some power in negotiations. And some researchers in Cambridge got together, wrote a letter, and petitioned other very, very well-known scientists to write a letter, to sign a letter, to express our support to GISC. As you can see there, for whatever reasons, a deal was agreed on, and that deal was further forwarded to all the universities in the UK. So some of us here at the university want to start discussions about this deal, about the negotiations, and the implications of this deal. With mixed results. Karina, I think, had pretty positive results initiating these discussions in her department in zoology. I was not that lucky. My head of department was a very tight schedule, and he didn't really know what I was talking about. Karina also had informal decisions with the Provost Chancellor, and that didn't lead anywhere either. So in June of this year, we decided to go public with an official Bullied into Bad Science. So maybe it's a good time now to reflect a little bit on, how did we do so far? And personally, I find it really difficult to say whether the campaign has been successful so far. Success is relative anyway. But I'll share with you a couple of pointers that maybe we could consider indicators of success or lack thereof. Now, the first really successful outcome is that Karina last week, I think, won the Shuttleworth Foundation Flash Grant for the campaign. And that's really great because now we have some financial support to proceed. Numbers, I'm not sure what to make out of numbers, but as of yesterday, we have 140 early career researchers that signed the petition and 73 non-early career researchers, senior academics or people outside of academia that officially support. This actually hasn't been reflected on the webpage yet. I haven't had time to update. These are the numbers from yesterday. Maybe they have already improved. I don't know what to make out of it. Personally, I don't think that's very much. But honestly, I don't know what to expect. In terms of feedback, I have to say it's very positive. We only got positive and supportive feedback. We haven't heard anything negative. Now that means that doesn't mean that there is nobody that doesn't see our initiative in a bad light. I'm sure they are, but they haven't expressed it publicly yet. And how's it in Cambridge? Well, I'm afraid to say it's a big fail. Not that it matters. You know, as long as there are other benefits. And it was never meant to be the case. We just happened to meet in Cambridge. And one example of this fail is trying to get the university to sign the declaration on research assessment. There was a little bit of ambiguity at the beginning. Has Cambridge signed it? Yes or no? Well, Cambridge is part of this grouping of research-intensive universities in Europe, that has signed the declaration. But then very quickly we were told that nobody signs anything with Cambridge. So clearly, at this stage, the current status is a big fail. But of course, we are not giving up. We are continuing to fight. So what are we doing? We are approaching academics directly to ask for their support. And that's very important because it's essential to show that those that are in charge support the campaign, and also to make sure that early career researchers don't feel intimidated to raise their voice. We have also submitted written evidence to the UK Parliament Science and Technology Committee inquiry on research integrity. That is very important because that officially states that the Bullied Science campaign has provided this information. We're also working on an updated web page that looks currently a bit amateurish, so we're trying to improve it. We would like to include translations. We already have a German translation, and we're looking for more translations. So if anyone is happy to contribute a little bit of time, that would be really great. I really want to start writing regular blog posts, short ones, but regular, just to keep the ball rolling. And yes, we're stubborn. We haven't given up here at the university, and we'll try to kind of promote the discussion at the Regional House, which is the official government body here at the university. But, well, as you can imagine, all this wasn't without a little bit of struggle. You know, what about my day job as an early career researcher? You know, why do early career researchers need to fight for a better, more open and more trustworthy research? Why don't we have more involvement from senior academics who, let's face it, have it somehow a little bit more comfortable? They're certainly very busy. And another one, you know, what's the impact of me being, and others being open activists? What's the impact on our academic careers? I think that's been a very important question. I would like to believe that it has a good impact, but that is only my opinion. There is more struggle, of course. There is so much work to do in so little time. There are so many ways to be an open activist, so many fights to pick. And I have learned that it's extremely important to pick your battles. Pick the battles that are the most important to you. Otherwise, it's a sure path to exhaustion and depression. And even when you have picked a battle, I realized that there are many ways to tackle these issues, different parallel ways, using, following the official procedure, community effort. So even when you pick your single battle, you'll realize that there's still way too much work to do on you. So yes, as I said, as I started this presentation by sharing my experience and highlighting how I and others have been affected by an unethical research environment. Yes, it is personal, but of course it's not about me. If it was about me, it would be way too easy for those that are in power, for those for whom research or ethical research is not high on the agenda, just to dismiss everything in the blink of an eye. There is, of course, a community of early career researchers, PhD students, postdocs, tenure-track academics. There's a community on whose shoulder I'll stand at this moment. These researchers that have signed or supported the campaign, and the researchers that haven't done yet. So as a final word, I would like to say the following thing, and it's not my quote. No researcher is too junior to take science. But while no researcher is too young, some certainly are more vulnerable than others. So I think it's even more important that those that are privileged, and I certainly consider myself privileged, and I think most of us who come from Cambridge are, I think it's even more important that we make them ourselves, our voices heard, so that together we won't be bullied into bad science. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that talk. Have you got any questions?
So I was just wondering why has this initiative failed in Cambridge? Is it only related to the fact that the university has not signed DORA yet, or does it have to do with researchers themselves?
So signing DORA is one of the points we highlight in the campaign, and I invite you to where you have all the points. But yes, it is probably also related to researchers. Do researchers, do they have time to get involved in changing the research environment? Do they all want to? In my experience, it's more early career researchers that are generally willing, that reflect on the environment, because they know that they have still, they hope to be able to spend many, many more years doing what they are passionate about. And so they reflect about this environment, and they ask themselves, do we want to stay and do this for the rest of our lives? So there is probably not enough engagement. I don't know why. Maybe it takes time, but it's also very, very difficult to navigate through the administration of, I guess, any institution, but this institution in particular. So we need to try to tackle it from different aspects, mobilizing researchers, early career researchers in particular, probably, but also try to kind of have a more top-down approach or influence the right people, lobbying at the university, in the government. Yeah, so it's difficult to say. It's early stage, maybe too early stage. But it's good to reflect why haven't we reached certain goals yet? And I think it's a complex situation.
More or less following up on that question, you said that it was good to be active in open research. It was your opinion, and that your campaign right now has fallen more or less flat. My question then would be, in your experience, how could you tell me how the opinion of management is linked to this falling flat? Because I've heard some researchers who are passionate about open science but they do not, their promoters, their department heads do not allow them or are skeptical about their time investment.
Yeah. Okay. Whose research am I doing? Who is in charge of my research in my future? It's to some extent, unfortunately, not necessarily my supervisor. That I have to take the future in my own hands. It's very likely I'm going to fail. I'll be able to kind of carry on and do my research for the rest of my life. I don't want to give myself the a reason to blame somebody else. I have to take it in my own hands. Of course, yeah, if I have to support from the hierarchy, that's great. If I have to work against the system, that is a tough situation. But I think I need to, it's important for researchers, early career researchers in particular, to empower themselves and do what they think is right. And I'll lose my voice again. And promote open research, but not just for the sake of saying I do open research, but because open research is the way for better research, for more trustworthy research, for reproducible research, research that we can trust. So I think that it's important for me, or my advice would be to say, you know, it's very, very competitive. So can you give yourself a competitive edge? Yes, by taking your future and your research in your own hands and by promoting what you do. So that is what I think. That's my opinion. I agree with you, it takes time, but there is too much to do and too little time. So I chose to invest some time in being an open researcher because I think it makes me a better researcher. Yeah. So I guess it's a matter of opinion. But open science is not going to disappear. When we see what funders say, some governments want to promote research integrity, open research. So it's probably a good set of skills to have, you know, in a selfish way. You know, if I want to be competitive, that's my idea. I have to say I never had major barriers in being an open researcher, but I'm sure other people have a much harder time. I hope that answers your question.
I think you have answered my question before I asked it, which is, do you think there are for any negative connotations being posted or having this particular viewpoint? Because I've obviously heard some negative comments, not about you personally, but about open access, sell it, and the rest of it, and you know, fact that people who are arguing for open science or along the lines of Bullied and bad science, especially in relation to the importance of publishing in prestige journals, are for some reason extreme, and I think that's quite a cool counter to an institutional viewpoint.
So the question was, are there any negative effects?
I think there's an institutional bias to being conservative.
Yes, there is. Yeah. Nobody ever told me in my face that, you know, I should shut up. I'm sure many people think that. And maybe there are negative signs, I don't know. But maybe I'm happy to accept the consequences. At least I'm doing something I believe in. And yeah, and we'll see. Maybe they are. And yeah, from an institution point of view, staying where we are is probably the safest bet. But as I said, I won't stay in this institution forever. It's very, very likely. So I need to kind of work towards the kind of research that I believe in. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe in 10 years I'll know that I have completely failed because of that. But yeah, maybe I'll take on the risk and accept the consequences. We'll see.
Any more questions?
Thank you very much for the talk and for the campaign. And I feel you on sort of the challenges that are faced by early career researchers who are trying to think different. And I was wondering if there are any people or groups of people that you find particularly inspirational.
Yes, you guys. I guess people that share the same values, people that are happy to get into an argument for their values, and these might be early career researchers, but also more senior career researchers. So I don't want to name anyone, because if I name some person, I then feel unwell that I didn't name this other person. But essentially people I can rely on. So I think people that will see me not through my institution, which it is good. It helps me, but they won't see me through my institution, to the number of papers I've published, to where I have published, but they'll see me as a researcher, as an open researcher that cares about what he does and how he does it. So yeah, as I said, you meet a lot of these people along the way. Not enough, I suppose, but yeah. I was at OpenCon, and there was a kind of a hashtag about rebels at work. So you need to find your allies. As a rebel, there's a rebel alliance, and you need to find people you can trust, and then people that you have to listen to because they have other opinions, and that's also really important to realize why people don't agree with you, to maybe someday be able to change the environment.
I have one quick question. I'll ask it. What does success look like for you? Like, when assuming it is success, when will you stop? Or will you just win this cycle and then start a new battle until the war is won?
I'll be dead before the war is won. Yeah, I don't know what success looks like. I think researchers are bred as in never being happy with what they do. You submit a paper, you do another research. By the time your paper gets accepted, it's old news. You can't be. I'm never excited about a paper being accepted. That was a month ago. There is something new. So it's very difficult to define success, I think. Actually, maybe I'll give you two examples of success. Maybe one way of being successful is do what I like at work and still kind of have a life outside world at home. And that's, I think, really, really important. And maybe another approach of success that I feel really proud of is a piece of software that I released in 2010. And now, 7 years after that, I think there are maybe 10 contributors. I started this on my own, and other people contributed, and they made it really better. And most of the people I never met, or only met them after. And I think that's kind of professionally at least for me, a sort of success where you start something and other people find it interesting and they contribute. And at the end, it's much, much, much better because they contribute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.